With the WINN FM News, I am Kevin Brown. Our top stories focus on youth. Prime Minister Drew highlights benefits of 2025 budget during roundtable discussion. St. Kitts Nevis Prime Minister updates public on nation's 25 by 25 progress. Ministry of Health reassures public of vigilance regarding respiratory illnesses. Over 500 arrested in Trinidad and Tobago following a state of emergency announcement. Guyana's president speaks on increase in minimum wage for joint services. Internationally, Lebanon Parliament elects Army Chief Joseph Aoun as president. Now, the details. During the January 7th, 2025 broadcast of the Roundtable, a journalist raised a pivotal question about the specific measures included in the 2025 budget to support young people. The Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, the Honourable Dr. Terence Drew, explained how the budget aims to serve the nation's youth, addressing their aspirations and concerns in critical areas such as education, employment, and entrepreneurship.
In the area of education, you'd recognize that the Minister of Education would have presented, but we have increased the budget for education, or increased the budget allocation amount for education, because we believe that education should be as accessible as possible from the preschool level all the way up to the college or tertiary level.
This commitment to education reflects the government's overarching vision to ensure that secondary and college education in St. Kitts and Nevis is free, with preschool education available at no charge to some and heavily subsidized for others. Prime Minister Drew noted that the investment in education is intended to ensure that all children have access to quality schooling. He further explained that several initiatives would support young people in achieving tertiary education, including an expanded opportunity for financial support from Development Bank. In addition to bolstering education, the Prime Minister announced new initiatives to foster entrepreneurship. He revealed plans for a small business facility that will provide resources directly from central government to the Development Bank, which will in turn benefit many aspiring entrepreneurs.
We are expanding small business so that more of our people can have access.
One notable program mentioned was the Aspire program, which aims to educate youth on financial management, budgeting, and starting a small business.
There's money allocated for this Aspire program that will benefit 10.5 million young people. The only place in the Caribbean, I think, not the only place in the Western Hemisphere, even if you go from Canada all the way down to Chile, Argentina, at the tip of South America, you'll realize that we have this program as a program that is only in St. Kitts and Nevis, where young people get an account where they save and they will be able to buy shares into companies. So even before they leave school, they are accumulating wealth with the education that goes with it.
In addition to financial initiatives, Prime Minister Drew introduced a forthcoming cybersecurity training program.
We are expanding TVET, for example. This is vocational training. Recently, we had 3 persons from the Elevate program who graduated from AVIC.
Further enduring initiatives include vocational training and education, TVET, which aims to train youth in critical skills. The Prime Minister reflected on recent graduations from the Elevate program, highlighting the success of this transformative initiative.
First time in history, they graduated as part of Elevate program, the transformation of what they used to call the Peace program. 2 in business, 1 in construction technology. And so we're going to train much more this year.
As the Prime Minister continued to explore the budget's focus on creative industries, he praised the youth energy witnessed during the recent carnival celebrations. This illustrates how youth engagement in these cultural expressions showcases the potential for substantial job creation in the future.
Carnival was an expression of the success of the creative economy. You see the amount of young people and Macajumbi sticks as we stay here, the actors, the clowns, the masquerades. It was rich. When you look at the children's carnival, it was a reflection of the great work in the creative space. So many young people being exposed and participating. When you look at the shows, it's because people are being exposed so they can represent themselves well on the stage.
He acknowledged the accomplishments of young individuals in this space, specifically referencing Caitlin Wilson, who won a prominent title locally and another regionally, to be crowned Miss Haynes-Smith at the end of December 2024. Additionally, he praised Carissa Willett, Queen Independence Recognition, at a regional Calypso event. Prime Minister Drew concluded his remarks with an encouraging message, urged young people to harness the opportunities available through education and entrepreneurship, and advise against engaging in crime and violence. He underscored that such paths lead to dire consequences, reinforcing that
you have better options, choose them.
Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew has confirmed that the Federation has not been approached by the incoming Trump administration regarding the accommodation of deportees. As U.S. President-elect Donald Trump prepares to assume office on January 20th, his policy proposals continue to spark debate globally. While some initiatives are not expected to materialize, others have attracted significant attention, including his stance on mass deportations of illegal immigrants, a long-standing Republican Party issue.
Something that they have not been questioned about. So he asked the right question. Have we been approached about anything like that? No. So I would say I don't even think about it. I have not even thought about it because there's nothing to think about.
Over the past 4 years, millions of illegal immigrants have crossed the U.S. border, with some being apprehended for various crimes. In light of this, Caribbean leaders have been reportedly notified that they may be asked to house deportees, as several nations have expressed reluctance to accept their nationals. In December, NBC News reported that territories such as Grenada, the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, and Panama had been approached to accommodate deportees from third-party countries. The Bahamas Prime Minister Philip Davis acknowledged that his government received such a request but formally declined. In a statement, the Office of the Prime Minister wrote, quote, "This matter was presented to the government of the Bahamas, but was reviewed and firmly rejected by the Prime Minister," end quote. One key reason cited was resource constraints, which made it infeasible for the Bahamas to accommodate the request. Grenada, meanwhile, stated that it had not received any formal proposal from the Trump administration team. Grenada, meanwhile, stated that it had not received any formal requests from Trump's transition team. Requests for nations to accommodate deportees are not unprecedented. The outgoing Biden administration reportedly made similar appeals, with Suriname agreeing to assist. As the Trump administration transitions into power, Caribbean nations remain watchful of potential new demands and their implications.
St. Kitts and Nevis is actively working towards achieving CARICOM's significant goal of reducing food imports by 25% by this year. In a recent interview on January 7, 2025, Prime Minister the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew discussed the nation's strategic initiatives in this area despite challenges such as last year's drought, which impacted agricultural productivity.
Let me say that the minister has been working extremely hard with his team to implement this.
Prime Minister Drew stated, highlighting the dedicated efforts being made under his administration. The drought posed additional hurdles for farmers, necessitating a drought recovery program to sustain agricultural output.
As you can see, many farmers got drip lines and covering for the farms and seeds and so forth. That is because we had a few $1 million put towards that.
Although the drought recovery program did not completely resolve the challenges faced by farmers, it nonetheless provided significant support.
It didn't help us totally out of the hole, but it helped significantly.
Establishing a hatchery to ensure sufficient local egg production is among the developmental projects initiated.
I think we are now producing enough eggs.
Furthermore, agriculture diversification has been prioritized with the introduction of banana and pineapple cultivation and the innovative greenhouse village, which enhances farming practices. The Prime Minister elaborated on the diversified agricultural program, stating that the Tabasco initiative aims to develop approximately 100 acres of land for the large-scale growth of various crops.
It is a holistic program where you will see a lot of other crops being grown on a large scale.
While the 25% reduction initiative presents immense potential for St. Kitts and Nevis, challenges continue to loom. The drought remains a critical issue affecting yield. As a response, the government has explored additional water sources to supplement the agricultural and drinking water supplies.
We did a survey of St. Kitts and Nevis over the December period to look for water sources because we intend to drill to find more water.
The commitment to achieve the CARICOM target stands firm within the broader context of the region's performance. The Caribbean community, CARICOM, has witnessed contrasting results among its member nations in mitigating food imports. Many countries burdened by high import bills owing to factors such as reliance on external sources for essential food items, are grappling with similar challenges. CARICOM data highlights that the region's food import bill surpasses US $3.8 billion. This overdependence on imported goods has led to calls for increased local production. In tackling the underlying problems, regional leaders have committed to investing in local agriculture.
We have done tremendous amount of work to get us there.
The employment of substantial funds towards agricultural development indicates a shift towards self-sufficiency within the region. Critically, broader regional cooperations remains essential as St. Kitts and Nevis implements its agricultural initiatives. The focus on fostering intra-regional trade and ensuring food security will be paramount as neighboring nations reduce their import bills substantially. Prime Minister Drew's optimistic outlook, combined with actionable strategies in agriculture, could determine the reshaping of the agricultural landscape while confronting challenges head-on. In light of recent media reports regarding an alleged outbreak of humometapneumovirus, HMPV, in China, which purportedly has been affecting healthcare facilities and crematoria, the Ministry of Health in St. Kitts and Nevis assures the public of its diligence in monitoring the situation. Rumors of a declared state of emergency have further propelled the need for clarity, and the ministry is committed to keeping the populace informed about respiratory illness activity. The ministry is actively collaborating with various international health agencies, such as the Pan American Health Organization PAHO, the World Health Organization WHO, and the Caribbean Public Agency CARPHA, to ensure a coordinated response to the situation. According to the latest WHO updates, surveillance data from China's Center for Disease Control and Prevention, China's CDC, show that while the overall intensity of infectious respiratory cases is lower than during the same period last year, there has been a noted increase in acute respiratory infections. These include seasonal influenza, HMPV, rhinovirus, and respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, particularly in China's northern provinces. The Ministry of Health in St. Kitts and Nevis maintains a robust surveillance system that continuously monitors respiratory tract illnesses within the nation. Proactive measures have been established to tackle potential health threats from respiratory diseases. With the support of PAHO and WHO and other global health organizations, the ministry is well equipped to respond effectively to respiratory illness occurrences and ensure public safety. Human metapneumovirus, which is not new, belongs to the same family as the respiratory syncytial virus. This virus is known to cause upper and lower respiratory disease across all age groups, with particular severity in children under 5 years of age, older adults, and individuals with compromised immune systems. Symptoms associated with HMPV include cough, fever, nasal congestion, and shortness of breath. Complications can escalate to bronchitis and pneumonia. The typical incubation period is 3 to 5 days. Notably, HMPV has previously been isolated in the Caribbean, demonstrating the virus's endemic characteristics in the region. In response to the current flu season, the ministry continues to advocate for standard health practices among the population to curb transmission and safeguard against respiratory illnesses. Key recommendations include washing of hands frequently, avoiding close contact with individuals exhibiting signs of respiratory illness, covering coughs and sneezes, decontaminating high-touch surfaces regularly, and staying home if unwell and seeking medical attention should symptoms persist. The Ministry of Health has said that it remains unwavering in its commitment to transparency as it continues to provide timely updates as new information becomes available, reinforcing the importance of public health vigilance in the face of respiratory illness threats and ensuring the public's well-being. In regional news, over 500 arrested in Trinidad and Tobago following a state of emergency announcement. CNC3 has the details.
503 priority offenders have been targeted since the state of emergency began. Among those arrested, 40 men believed to be involved in gang activities, some of whom are now under house arrest. One of the men held by police was Calvin Lee, who was kept at the Belmont police station for 8 days. ACP Richard Smith, in response to questions from the media, says Lee was held and later released.
Mr. Lee was released, and however, he is currently under, I would say, detention at his home. through orders that were issued by the Commissioner of Police under Section 4C of the regulations.
So he's under house arrest?
Yes, more or less. He's under house arrest.
On December 30th, then Acting Attorney General Stuart Young said the state of emergency was called to address the threat of increased gang violence based on police intelligence. In 2 gang-relating shootings, 6 men were killed in the lead-up to the announcement, with the country recording its first ever quintuple murder. Police say Lee was believed to be the intended target of one of those shootings as he left the Besson Street police station. Asked about other supposed gangsters confined to their homes, Smith said he could not say more.
Well, you asked specifically about Mr. Lee. However, at this stage, I cannot give any further information. I do not have that at my disposal. However, that will be furnished to you at a later date.
But there are others who are...
There are others who are on our radar, who are under investigations. However, I cannot give the names or the amount at this stage.
Meanwhile, DCP Junior Benjamin says since the start of the state of emergency, 360 people have been arrested. Up to the time of the media conference, 140 people remained in police custody. There were 2,495 searches, resulting in the seizure of 22 guns and 818 rounds of assorted ammunition.
Continue to learn from those lessons so that even after the SOE, we are saying with the outcomes, with the lessons learned, we are going to put the necessary results in terms of our goals going forward. And we know that once we continue along those lines, we are going to see the continuous success going forward.
When the SOE took effect, police officers were called out of vacation, and though members of the Defense Force have been assisting, Smith made an appeal to police officers yet to heed the call.
So I want to thank the officers who came out thus far, and for the officers who have not come out, you know, messages will be sent to you, but I'm making a call to you all, an appeal to you all. Come out, we will meet you at police administration. Come out as early as today, tomorrow, you know, as soon as you get this message, we want you to come out because we need your assistance. We need all hands on deck as we continue to fight against the scourge of criminality taking place.
He also warns failure to comply would lead to disciplinary action. Jensen Lavende, CNC3 News.
Guyana's president speaks on increase in minimum wage for joint services, Guyana News Source reports.
On the heels of members of the joint services receiving a 10% salary increase, 1 month's salary as a bonus, and the $100,000 cash grant for citizens, President Irfan Ali announced that the members of the joint services will now enjoy a minimum wage of $130,000 per month. He said the move to increase the minimum wage for the joint services will bring equity and uniformity in the salary structure of joint services ranks. The minimum wage in the public sector currently stands at $100,000. Speaking at an event at the headquarters of the Guyana Fire Service, the president noted that although his government has moved to increase and adjust the salaries of ranks, some disparities have been uncovered. He said the minister responsible for finance was tasked with immediately addressing the issue.
And we had those adjustments in the ranks of our joint services. In the adjustment, there were some anomalies that had to be addressed, one of which was the difference in the basic salary of ranks at the lowest level, that's at the level of constable. I think it was 130. Is it 130, right? 130 in some agency, and it was 105, 110 in some agencies. So I've spoken to the Minister of Finance, and I've asked that he ensure that every rank in the Guyana, in the joint services, that is at the constable level, that every rank be paid a minimum salary of $130,000.
The move to increase the minimum wage for the joint services is set to benefit mostly constables, who were earning between $105,000 and $110,000 per month. And it has set a new minimum wage for the Guyana Police Force, the Guyana Fire Service, and the Guyana Prison Service. President Ali said the move reflects the government's commitment to making life of ranks easier. He said he's looking forward to more hard work and dedication from the joint services in return.
So that there's consistency. So you have constables in the police force, in the fire service, and you have privates who are at 105 and 110. They will be adjusted to 130, so we have equity across the scale. So we have your best interest at heart, because we ask for your best too. We ask you to give of your best to our country, and we will give and the country will invest in you.
The president has repeatedly stated his position to improve the lives of members of the joint services. He said a number of initiatives have been put in place since he took office to support them on the job and also in their personal lives. Meanwhile, in a video statement this afternoon, opposition leader Aubrey Norton said the increase for members of the joint services and all public servants should be a whole lot more, especially when it comes to the minimum wage.
Irfan Ali's announcement of $130,000 minimum wage for the joint services is a political gimmick. Again, it is not a livable income. The public service is still at $100,000 per month. Is he going to raise it to $100,000? And even if he does that, you're still in the dilemma of not having a livable income.
We now bring you these international reports.
Lebanon has a new president, ending a power vacuum that lasted for more than 2 years. Its army commander, Joseph Aoun, received the majority of the votes. He says this is a new beginning. In his first speech to parliament, Aoun said he would fight corruption, poverty, promote economic and judicial reform while investing in the army. He promised to build a functional state.
My pledge is to exercise my role as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and Chairman of the Supreme Defense Council, through which I will work to affirm the state's right to monopolize the bearing of arms.
This was seen as a message to Hezbollah, whose armed wing has long been stronger than the army. Aoun was not the group's candidate, but this is a new Lebanon. Israel's devastating war and the fall of the regime in neighboring Syria weakened Hezbollah and its allies.
It's a big change in the whole region, not only in Lebanon. And the Iranian influence on Lebanon is going away.
Lebanon's lawmakers returned to parliament on Thursday for the first time in 19 months. A lot has happened since. Hezbollah and its allies may not have been able to impose their candidate, but they made clear they can't be ignored. They didn't give their votes to the army commander until they met him before a second round of voting.
Now we have a true good opportunity to have our Arab brothers, mainly Arab League countries and the Gulf countries, as well as all Arab countries, plus the international community, plus the European community, to deal with Lebanon again.
Hezbollah remains the main dividing line in Lebanon and beyond its borders.
This election didn't fix the political divide. Instead, there was significant political maneuvering as envoys from the United States, France, and Saudi Arabia visited Beirut in recent days. Lebanon needs international assistance to help rebuild what was destroyed during the war. It also needs U.S. support to ensure Israel respects the ceasefire. But absent was Iran, which had considerable influence through Hezbollah.
Aoun, who received 99 of the 128 votes, is considered to be the preferred choice of the U.S. and the international community.
Well, unfortunately, I believe that there has been a role by international community and regional players to push for the conclusion of this milestone.
Aoun faces the difficult tasks of overseeing a ceasefire on the Israeli border and naming a prime minister to lead reforms demanded by international creditors to save the country from a severe economic crisis. This was not merely a vote. It's a sign that after much delay, Lebanon has entered a new phase in its history. Zana Khuder, Al Jazeera, Beirut.
A highly anticipated return to Mozambique for supporters of opposition presidential candidate Venancio Mondlane.
I am not willing to accept the election results if they are the same as those earlier announced. The only role I am willing to take on is the role I have always been willing to take on, which is to defend my people, to fight for these people, for the truth, for justice, and for values.
The government's accused Mondlane of inciting violence, with months of protest following his accusations of vote rigging in October's presidential election. Mondlane fled Mozambique, he says, for his own safety. Outside the airport, Mondlane's supporters were met with police, tear gas and live gunfire. They retaliated by throwing stones.
A convoy carrying Venancio Mondlane has now left the airport, and it's travelled down this road leading to where his supporters have gathered to welcome him. The police tear gas fire continues, and there's a standoff between his supporters and the police.
But tens of thousands of supporters lined the streets as Mondlane's convoy travelled through the capital. They say they won't accept the election results, which declared Daniel Chapo of the governing Frelimo party the winner. Chapo is due to be inaugurated next week. Mondlane says he'll hold his own parallel swearing-in ceremony. Mondlane's appealed to regional leaders to intervene in the impasse and facilitate dialogue, but Mozambique's Constitutional Council has endorsed Chapo's win. Meanwhile, Frelimo's held a meeting with opposition parties, including Podemos, the party supporting Mondlane.
We want to tell the Mozambican people that our goal is the stability of the country, peace, harmony and brotherhood. We want to promote the development of Mozambique. There can be no development without these elements. We reaffirm our commitment to working hard to achieve this goal.
Civil society groups say hundreds have been killed in the protests. The government's accused demonstrators of violence, but as Mozambique prepares to inaugurate a new president, there's no indication Mondlane and his supporters are willing to back down. Famida Mala, Al Jazeera, Maputo, Mozambique.
At least 5 wildfires are still raging around Los Angeles, including one engulfing the iconic Hollywood Hills. Fire chiefs say they're hard to control and rapidly expanding as they approach some of the city's iconic landmarks. The intense flames have been difficult to tackle because of high winds, dry conditions and low water pressure. 5 people are confirmed dead and more than 137,000 homes have been evacuated in what has now become the most destructive wildfire in LA's history. Buildings on Sunset Boulevard, the famous strip that stretches for miles through West Hollywood, are lying in ruins after being destroyed by the power of the blaze. The largest fires in Palisades and Eaton remain entirely uncontained. That means firefighters are prioritising saving lives rather than trying to put out the flames. 3 smaller fires are also still burning. Our correspondent Helena Humphrey has this report from LA.
A picture of utter devastation. The flames here are pitiless, sparing nothing in their path. Not the glitzy houses of Pacific Palisades, nor the hillsides.
The imagery of this is next level, shocking. I mean, I was down to my knees when I got up to my parents' house with just sheer amazement at what I was looking at, which was basically just a chimney stack and a pile of ash. I mean, it's something out of a movie.
With the fires still burning, more people are being told to evacuate their homes, faced with the agonizing decision of what to take and what to leave behind.
You look at something, you go, you know what, I've had that for almost all my life, but you know what, I can let that go. I can let it go. I can let it go. And then I took photographs and things that meant something, a little figurine that my daddy bought for me when I was 5, or, those kinds of things.
Southern California is used to wildfires, but not like this. January is supposed to bring rain. Instead, the ground is tinder dry. Palisades, the first blaze to break out on Tuesday, has now become the most destructive in LA's history. Hurricane-strength winds fanning the flames, some desperately trying to protect their homes.
I know this looks pretty stupid, but if I can save one ember from burning down my house, I'll take the risk.
The downtown of Pacific Palisades is nearly wiped out. Its celebrity-filled suburbs, home to Tom Hanks, Ben Affleck and Reese Witherspoon, now deserted. Vice President Kamala Harris's Los Angeles residents also affected. What residents will return to, no one knows.
I'll be okay. I'm tough, and we'll start over. Even though I'm 91 years old, I'll start over again.
The scale and severity of these blazes is changing day by day. Here in Hollywood, in the hills, another fire on the horizon, showing how the situation can change in an instant. On the ground, there's limited water supply. The wildfires have caused massive issues for power supply too, affecting 1.5 million people.
The Eaton fire is now at around 10,600 acres with 0% containment. But we have over 2,000 city employees deployed and working non-stop to address this.
But promises of help will do little to calm fears. Scientists warn that wildfires in the region are growing faster and more unpredictable, fueled by climate change. As residents watch the orange haze on the horizon, all they can do is wonder what the next hours will bring. Helena Humphrey, BBC News, Los Angeles.
The flames still burning out of control, and we can speak to CBS reporter Chris Van Cleve, who is there. Chris, what's the latest where you are?
We're in the Altadena area of Los Angeles. That's eastern LA County. This is the Eaton fire. Pasadena, maybe the most recognizable place nearby. That's just down the road from here. This was a home. Water dropping helicopters and aircraft are in the air. They are trying to tackle the Eaton fire. It's more than 10,000 acres, 0% containment. Much of it does appear to be burning in forest land that's away from homes. But if that wind picks up, and the wind that we saw yesterday that was hitting 70, 80 mile an hour wind gusts, hurricane force winds, if that picks up again, which it may happen, there's a lot of concern about blowing embers, these little basically balls of fire. They were blowing them 1, 2, 3 miles from the fire line earlier this week. There's worry about that. All of Southern California really holding their breath given the number of fires that are burning. The winds are in the forecast for at least another night. That's a major point of concern. Yesterday when we were coming up here, we drove down a street and it was either every house was either on fire or had already burned to the ground.
You were listening to the WINN FM 98.9 newscast. Our top stories were: focus on youth. Prime Minister Drew highlights benefits of 2025 budget during roundtable discussion. St. Kitts Nevis Prime Minister updates public on nation's 25 by 25 progress. Ministry of Health reassures public of vigilance regarding respiratory illnesses. Over 500 arrested in Trinidad and Tobago following a state of emergency announcement. Guyana's president speaks on increase in minimum wage for joint services. Internationally, Lebanon Parliament elects Army Chief Joseph Aoun as president. Thank you for listening.